Hello, my friends, and welcome to a space where pleasure is treasured, relaxation is not what you think it is, and life firing on all cylinders is what we're about. If you are somebody who wakes up every day asking for way more, consider this your happy place. Welcome to the Creation of Living podcast. I'm your host, Heather Nichols. Let's dive in. Hello, everybody. It's Heather Nichols, and welcome to the Creation of Living podcast. Today, I want to do a quickie with you all, exploring this conversation of predictability versus possibility. I heard Gary Douglas, who is the founder of Access Consciousness, talk about this recently in a call that he did, and I was like, wow, that's pretty powerful. These two energies, the energy of looking for the predictable or looking for the possible. And when we seek predictability, we definitely seek diminishment without even knowing it. When you're looking for something in your life to be predictable, whether it's your business, relationships, your body, whatever it may be, when you're looking for something to be predictable, you have to contract and compress whatever that is, as well as yourself, to try to control whatever it is into existence in a way that basically just feeds your mind, and that kind of like addresses the fears that you have that cause you to need a predictable life in the first place. If you look at yourself as an infinite being rather than a person with a mind who thinks all the time and needs structure and all of that, but you see yourself as more of an infinite being. An infinite being does not require predictability. Predictability is something that is a construct. It's something that we make up with our minds. And it's also something that is kind of contrary to how the universe itself actually functions. The universe is not predictable at all. Try to predict the behavior of gases and atoms and molecules and the behavior of the universe and the behavior of planets. You really can't. I mean, we can say, how things function given, what we know right now, but we also have no idea if things will continue to function like that in the future. And so when we try to, we live in this incredible universe that's like constantly evolving and changing and shifting, and we try to create ourselves inside of it, as part of it, as predictable, our lives as predictable. We are doing control, and we are basically destroying possibility. So possibility being the other side of the coin. So what if you started to look for what is possible rather than what is predictable? When you try to create, if we look at business, like when you try to create a business that is predictable, you have to like do the same thing over and over and over, which for a lot of people who are interested in these conversations, humanoids, X-Men, like the seekers of the world, people who know there's a different possibility, that is really boring. Like that's something that's just not that fun, not that exciting, very boring, and doesn't really, it doesn't stimulate your creative juices. It doesn't make you seek, something different, something new. And it's, so many of us, like the seekers of the world, really thrive on what's new, what's different, changing things every day, allowing things to, show up and surprise us every day. The thing about also predictability is if you look at, like, let's say predictable money flows, if you are seeking predictable money flows, you actually can't have a lot of random, magical, out of nowhere surprise money flowing into your life. And so it's like you can, like, it's like you give up the possibility, you give up all kinds of possibilities for change, for having something be different. You give all of that up for the straight and narrow, knowing what's going to happen every day, knowing what your future is going to be, having a paycheck, whatever it may be. And as much as sometimes that may sound like a relief, I know a lot of entrepreneurs, they don't have a paycheck, that's part of being an entrepreneur is you, I mean, maybe you give yourself a paycheck, but it's not like there's somebody who's, handing you a paycheck every month who's responsible for making sure that happens. As an entrepreneur, you have to create it. And so sometimes that can sound like a really great thing, just if someone was giving me a paycheck, but it's there's so much of you that you probably would have to give up in order to have that, because entrepreneurs in the first place are people that are creative, fluid. They like to change. They like to, they're not afraid to work, and they're not afraid to create, and not afraid to try things that a lot of other people won't try. So by very nature, a lot of entrepreneurs actually are very interested in exploring possibility, being on the creative edge of business, creating things that have never existed before in your industry, being innovative, things like that. You can't have that and be seeking for predictability at the same time. So when you start to explore possibility as a way of functioning, it's like that's a totally different ballgame. It's like a different universe. And a lot of times, there's the tools from Access Consciousness and the Joy Business, which is a specialty area within Access, that are literally designed for the seekers of the world, the humanoids, those people that are very different. And I was facilitating an X-Men class this week. I just finished it today, and one of the things I was saying is like, if you live, if you have you live in now 2025, and you have a computer and you have technology and all these amazing ways, like tools that allow you to create. And somebody from the 1600s is like, here, write a book, here's a feather and some ink and some paper. I don't even know when paper came about, like what did they write on back then? But it's like those tools the tools for writing a book at that time would be so much more cumbersome, less effective, less relevant to you, less efficient than sitting down at your computer and typing, And even now, like people use AI to write books, so there's that too. But if you were just the one writing, like you've got a computer, you can store it on the cloud, and it's like, that's a different universe. But a lot of times when you're looking to have predictability, you're looking at these kind of archaic tools, and also tools that they're not really relevant to you. So the tools from the 1600s, they're not really relevant in a lot of ways to us now. There may be some, incredible artisan ways of building and creating beautiful things that are highly relevant, that could be a great gift. So it's not about, always the advancements in technology make things better, but you got to look at what's relevant to you as the appropriate tools for creating. And if you are a seeker, an entrepreneur, a humanoid, somebody who has a different perspective, has a different point of view, is always looking for more, is always looking for different, is always looking to add things, to change things, to have fun, to explore, to be on the creative edge of possibility. You've got to have tools that are for that, tools that match that universe, rather than, here's tools to create a predictable life. And it's funny to even just like talk about it and explore it, because when for me, when I hear that, like tools to create a predictable life, I'm like, oh, wow. I mean, that makes it sound really kind of boring. And it is, for me, it is very, like, predictability is extremely boring. If you know what somebody's going to say to you and they say it, it's like you're going to be, that's just not going to be an interesting conversation. Interesting conversations for the seekers of the world are those that provide all kinds of twists and turns and new energies and surprises and different dialogue and stuff that's never existed before. So, so with like the exploration of possibility and creating your living from a place of exploring and looking for what else is possible, which is a great question to be asking. What else is possible? You got to have different tools. So one of the greatest tools that is part of the elements of creation, the realms of creation, and access consciousness is asking questions. When you ask a question that is a true open-ended question, it is an invitation. It's like, dear universe, show me something I don't know. Show me something beautiful. Show me something that I could choose, that I could create, that I don't know, that I haven't discovered yet. What is possible with this? What is possible with this? What else is possible with my business, with my money flows? What could I be that would allow me to create greater than I've ever created before? What could I choose that would allow me to create greater than I've ever created before? So all of these types of questions, they're very open-ended. It's like a dialogue with the universe where you're like, dear universe, let's play, show me some new stuff. Show me some possibilities, If you're like, dear universe, I would like a predictable paycheck and a predictable person in my life and predictable, you're going to get bored before you even get the ask out there. And when you're in conversation with the universe and you're asking questions and you're asking for new and different energies, you're going to have all kinds of new stuff come your way. New creations, new choices. I mean, I just even today, like I've been, I have some days. I'm going to be in Europe for 5 weeks, and I have these days planned, like some empty days on my calendar where I was like, what am I going to do for these 3 days? And I was like, I really would like to go somewhere and facilitate. And it was kind of like I was looking at some different things and pinging some different people. And then all of a sudden, I just started asking, like, where can I go to contribute the most? Where can I go to contribute to the earth? And, who would like to play? Who would like to create with me? And through this totally meandering pathway, I may be going to Poland for the first time. And that was like not even something I had thought about. It was not a language I've really been creating with. It's not something that I was considering 5 days ago. But when I started to look at it, it was like, wow, that's a cool energy. I've never wanted to go to Poland. I haven't not wanted to go to Poland. I just haven't really, it hasn't been a thing, hasn't been on my radar. And somebody took a class, asked for Polish translation. We got a Polish translator. All these things started to just, show up, and it was really fun playing with them. And I was like, maybe I'm going to Poland. And I don't know if I am or not. But, maybe by the time this is published, we'll have more of an idea. But it's so like that. There's nothing predictable about that choice. It's just like, do I have guaranteed class if I go there? Like, I don't really know anything about it. It's like, no, I don't. I just am willing to ask questions and be like, dear universe, dear earth, where would you like me to go? And then when those energies show up, I'm willing to say yes, if it matches what it is that I have been asking for. So in this case, that's choice, right? It's like Poland. Oh, Poland in July. Oh, and it's like, yeah, let's see what we can create. And it just kind of unfolds from there. And it could even be that, like, in the exploration of going there, I take another left turn and, something else shows up that seems like an even greater possibility. You never know what's going to show up, but it's so cool to create from the seeking of possibility, the asking of questions, making choices based on what matches the energy that you're asking for. So really like going for it when things show up, and not look for predictability. It's easy to get kind of pulled into that space of like, I should probably find something that's predictable here. But that is, again, it's a diminishment, and it's something that you're never going to have greater possibilities, greater creation, a bigger business, more money flows, like more. That's not really a part of the predictable reality. The reality of possibility, seeking, letting go of control, asking questions, making choices based on the energy, not having any idea where it's going to lead, but being willing to follow and see, and change your mind at any time. It's like all those things. There's so much freedom in there to be creative and to be playing with the creation of living. So I invite you to explore possibility, looking for possibility, asking questions, making choices, receiving possibilities and contributions and chaos, rather than trying to find that which is predictable. Often when we're looking for something that isn't true for us, we actually don't create it anyway because it's not true for us. Predictability might seem like a good idea, but that'll last for about 10 seconds and then you'll be bored. So what else is possible? I hope this was a contribution, and I will see you next time. Bye. Thank you for joining me for the Creation of Living podcast. If this conversation was inspiring to you, share the love. To work privately with me or for info on my upcoming classes and retreats, go to heathernichols.com. Have a beautiful day, and remember that the world thrives when you do.